Cool. I'll just present agenda in shortly for this call. So basically, LBP is the name of our team. It's like LinkedIn Business Platform. What helps LinkedIn do business effectively? So we'll start by talking about that at a high level. We'll also cover the LBP provisioning and tax overviews, um, which will be the modules within LBP that our Bangalore team owns and actively develops on. We'll also cover the deep dive of provisioning, talking about how it is implemented, what systems, external systems it integrates with, who are our upstream, downstream services and customers, and all the challenges we have been seeing. Um, and we will cover the monitoring platform, which is a unique platform that helps us give visibility into the system, helps us see where we are, what could be areas of improvement, where our customers could be facing some issues, and how we can quickly resolve them before they even reach to customers. Followed by these topics, we will have a session for Q&A in the end. Rafiq, can we go to the next slide, please? Right. So you can post questions at any point. Here we are just demoing how we can achieve that through the portal. You can click on this blue icon and post the questions there. Khushbu, our moderator, will help us answer some of them during the call, or at the end of the meeting, we will cover them in the last 15 minutes. So yeah, feel free to post all the questions that you might have. So with that agenda, I'll start the talk. Just providing a quick overview of the team. LBP, the LinkedIn Business Platform. So we are here so that like LinkedIn can do its business very efficiently. LinkedIn sells a lot of products. One of them, which we are familiar with, is like premium subscriptions that we can purchase. But aside from that, we also have a lot of corporate facing products, for example, Recruiter, LinkedIn learning services, which are accessible from LinkedIn, and other products like that. And we constantly look at the market and see what else can be good fit for the market or need of the market at the time, and try to launch that, And so the goal of LinkedIn Business Platform is to help LinkedIn do business more efficiently with less overheads and a smooth experience for our customers. And with that, our goal is not just for the big customers, like the big enterprise customers, but also all the small and medium businesses that have been keeping LinkedIn up and running. So that's where our focus is. Can we go to the next slide, please? Right. So as I mentioned, that why this team exists is to help LinkedIn do business more efficiently. What it does is creates a service that is a unified platform for provisioning, and with like capabilities that can be used by multiple products. So there is no product specific code, or like when we launch a new product, we don't have to rewrite the whole tech stack and decrease the time of go to market, right? That's the whole goal. And how we do it is by again some multi service oriented architecture with microservices, and some of the microservices are listed here, like quoting, provisioning, billing, and so on. Can we go to the next slide, please? Right. So provisioning is first of all is one of the main charters that this team owns. Provisioning is the process of fulfilling orders that our customers have placed. For example, you want to buy a premium subscription for say 1 month or 1 year, starting from say today until next year. And provisioning is the process. Once you have purchased that product, we ensure the customers have access to their products on time, right? And they can buy these products either online, like we do on linkedin.com, or they can reach out to our sales representatives who will help them or guide them throughout this process, and to find like what's the best fit for their needs, and which products and which features within those products will be the best fit to drive value out of them. And in that regards, like there could be multiple types of orders, right? Like some are just purely time based, for example, premium subscription. Some could include like some limit based lines. For example, in-mails is one of those examples. When you buy premium, you get access to 30 in-mails, right? And those could be used during that 1 year. And so we have some more such types of lines. And sometimes we can commingle, for example, the recruiter product and the learning could be sold together and so on. And provisioning is responsible for managing this life cycle. So what is life cycle, right? So if you look at the um, um, order that was placed by the customer, it will include the start and end date. And so provisioning is ensuring that it starts on the specified start date, that is today, and it ends after the 1 year, that is like 365 days from now, and so on. And sometimes they might want to renew the order, or they might want to cancel the order before the start date, after the start date, and so on. Or if they really love the product, which we really hope for, then they can upgrade or downgrade their experience, right? Which will allow them more features within those products. And this is referring to the enterprise products we talked about. Um, yeah. Can we go to the next slide? Yeah, thanks. So Commerce Tax Team, this is another charter within our LBP model that I mentioned. And Commerce Tax Team helps us ensure that whatever orders we are uh, uh, selling, whatever products we are selling, they are taxed correctly. By correctly, I mean according to the local laws and local government authority laws and so on. For example, in India, we have GST. Some countries like Canada have like a PST and QST, which are state specific taxes. For example, Quebec uses QST, but the federal level, they will also use GST and so on. And similarly, like all the countries that LinkedIn does business in, for example, USA, in Europe and other places, this team is responsible that we comply with laws there, and the orders are taxed correctly. Sometimes they might be government authorities where they would request tax exemptions. That is, they may not require to pay taxes as per the local laws. So getting those numbers from them, integrating with the third party system to make sure that the numbers are correct and belonging to them, and uh, accordingly either adding or removing the tax from the order amount. And often as we start to grow in a particular country, then we start including them in our tax jurisdiction compliances. Then yeah, for example, we recently did for Thailand. And so that's what this team has been responsible for. And much more features that we cannot go right away, but a lot of exciting work going on there. Can we go to the next slide, please? So with that context and high-level overview, I will hand over to the next set of speakers for the deep dives, as I promised in the earlier. So it will be started by Himanshu Mathur. He's a senior software engineer of our team, has been with us for almost 2.5 years now. Done a lot of exciting work with them and currently working on migrating the recruiter field onto the new provisioning stack. Followed, can we go to the previous slide, please? Yeah, I also want to introduce the next speaker, which will be Manika, followed by Himanshu. Manika is also with us for about 3 years since, and since then she has helped us build the monitoring platform, which helps us make sure that all the orders for all the customers that are ongoing are correctly monitored, and they need not worry about whether their access is there on time. This platform will help us see the visibility in there and flag issues, if any, for us much earlier. So with that, I'll hand over to Himanshu.
Hey, thanks, Pranay, for the introduction. Can we go to the next slide? Okay. Yeah, before we deep dive into what provisioning is, I will first like to introduce you to the components that make up what provisioning is. So The main clients to our system are generally the end user, which are you, or the CRMs, where the opportunity is placed for an enterprise. Like the following CRMs that we support are SFDC, which is Salesforce, as we are all aware of, and Dynamics 365, which is an offering by Microsoft, and online, which is you as end customers who click and buy premium, buy in-mails, buy learning, right? And the next clients to our system is support UI, which is used by our customer support in case enterprise face any issues related with their purchase, right? So the tools they internally use are customer support tool, enterprise admin platform, and customer NCS tool, which is like a legacy tool for CSP, right? How they correlate, we'll run into it later. I just want to give a brief introduction about these. And an admin UI. This is the UI that is exposed to the end user who has made the purchase. And with using this UIs, they can access their purchase and manage it also, right? So one of the major ones are account center, and where they can log in and give access to other users. Like when enterprises buy bulk orders from us, right, they can distribute the bot licenses and assign it to multiple sub peers. And with that, to do that, account center allows them to access, like, to distribute these roles across, right? Then there is a campaign manager tool. This is a tool used to manage campaigns bought on LinkedIn. Then again, EAP. EAP is both used as support UI and admin UI. We are planning to deprecate EAP and move on to account center, but still, like, it's supported as both support and admin UI. And then there is seat management. Seat management is basically access management. You can allow multiple sub peers to access LinkedIn products and also revoke their access, right? Now, what are the products that are getting provisioned by our system? So LinkedIn has like 5 types of product that we are selling to end customers. You must be most familiar with LinkedIn Learning Solutions. Then there are LinkedIn Learning Solution or LinkedIn Learning license that you buy and access LinkedIn Learning content. Then there is LinkedIn Talent Solution, which helps enterprises to seek talent, right? Like, what is the right talent for my company? Let's say I'm looking for a QA, or I'm looking for a backend or a DevOps. So LinkedIn Talent Solutions are the product that help a company seek good talent, right? Then LinkedIn Sales Solutions, which is LSS, and sales solutions are basically where when you build a product and you want to seek the audience which is interested in buying your product, so it helps you sell what you have produced. Okay. So we have various products built around this, and we call it LinkedIn Sales Solutions, right? And then there are LinkedIn Marketing Solutions, which basically ads related to you seeking to hire or seeking to sell or seeking to promote an event. And then there are premium subscription, where we talked about, Pranay already mentioned, that LinkedIn premium subscription, where you get premium access to features on LinkedIn, right? And all the goods sold as part of these lines of businesses, right, they can be customized, they can be categorized into 3 categories. They can be either licenses, which are basically when you buy, you get access to certain content on an application. Then there are consumables, which are unit based. In-mails is a very good example of consumables, which is if you buy 10, you can only use 10, right? And after that, the access is gone. It's not bound by duration, but by number of times you access it. And then there are budget based, which are like ads when you buy a particular quantity or dollar quantity, and you then consume that dollar quantity. And our system is asked to do certain types of provisioning too. And the 3 type of provisioning our system is asked to do is auto provisioning, when customer buys and you instantly want to grant access to the customer, right? And then there is manual provisioning, where the customer themselves says that I have structured, I have bought a big contract, but I do not want you to just provision it to me. I want to manage its provisioning, and hence we allow the customer to manually provision. This is generally required when a company buys a big contract and want to train its resources to use it. So they don't want to grant everything at one shot and exhaust their licenses, but slowly and gradually manually distribute this. And then there are temporary orders, which is a mechanism in our system to unblock a customer if they get blocked and not get granted the quantity they bought. And our system caters to various requests. Pranay already briefed you through this, that few of the requests is buying a new contract, canceling the existing contract, buying more quantity of a product that you have already purchased, and renewing if you like the product, right? Can we go to the next slide? Okay, so this is where we come into picture, right? So we have created the platform called Unified Provisioning Platform, which is a single platform for all products and sales channels and digital goods sold at LinkedIn, right? So all kind of business that is done should be provisioned by this singular platform, right? Configurable provisioning platform that simplifies and shortens go-to-market process. This is one of the guiding principles that we are building our platforms upon. It is required that our go-to-market time is very low, because very frequently the sales will ask to sell different combinations of product, and they want this platform to be so configurable that they can just click and sell different, like on customer demand, the combination of product they want. Earlier this was a very tedious process, because in legacy flows, each of the lines of businesses that I've explained in previous slides were getting managed by different flows, and hence it was very hard to unify them and sell them together. So multiple contracts need to be signed by customer, and the sale needs to be done in that way for customer to have like the entire product or the features that he really wants. So it's not like a one shot process where only one contract is signed and everything customer wants gets. Just because the legacy flow is divided into multiple lines of businesses, this used to be very hassle prone to the customer, right? And we want to improve the auto provisioning rate with monitoring and reconciliation capabilities. So auto provisioning rate is, if a customer has signed the contract and said, okay, I want to start using my product in future, we should be able to provision it on time, right? And keep it configured that when the time when of the usage comes, the customer has access to it. Sometimes what happens is the platform is error prone, and it is not, the product doesn't get configured, and that can result into customer having no access to the product bought on the start date, which he has demanded for. So we want to eliminate that altogether and keep our auto provisioning rate very high. And this comes with predictability, that even if customer has not given us input, can we predict what customer wanted to do with this contract with respect to the previous configured contracts are, right? Then we want to do self-serve onboarding capabilities. Now, this is where we are saying that the support UX should get absolute, right? In case the customer buys something, the support doesn't need to be involved. The customer should themselves be self-sufficient to onboard to our platform in case the auto provisioning has failed. So we want the platform to be so like robust that, and like expose features so that customer themselves know what the platform is asking them for, like what input the platform needs for them to be auto provisioned. Can we go to the next slide? Yeah. So this is the layout of our architecture, right? As I explained, from the players in provisioning, the first customers to client to us are the online channel, which is where the on the LinkedIn platform, the sale is made, linkedin.com. You buy premium subscription, it goes through an order management system and to our platform UPP. And Dynamics 365 is part of the internal project called Abacus, which again places an order and calls UPP. And then there is SFDC, Salesforce, where an opportunity is sold by a sales rep, and it reaches first our financing system and then reaches UPP. And in the block of UPP, we have mentioned the responsibilities that the UPP platform provides. So there is orchestration and lifecycle management. We'll talk about that in later slide. In short, it actually orchestrates the orchestration is basically which underlying allocation platform to be called, right? Because multiple businesses are managed by multiple teams in LinkedIn. So LMS is a different team, CAP is a different team, and EP. LMS might be managing LinkedIn marketing services, CAP is managing, let's say, LTS line of business, and EP is managing learning business, right? So it orchestrates that once the sale is made, which system should cater to the provisioning ask, right? And lifecycle management is maintaining the life cycle of when the underlying provisioning target should be called for operations like now grant the contract and revoke it or renew it or cancel it, right? Auditing is basically in keeping the log of what has happened in the system for like when the audit comes, like if customer challenges LinkedIn in future of any time that I have not received the product on time, the auditing logs are important for us to go back and address the customer ask and like claw back revenue if required. And monitoring is reporting is what Monica will talk about as part of PMP. Can we go to the next slide? So here are the capabilities of UPP, right? The order features, the underlying order features are the SFDC, Abacus orders and online purchases are supported by UPP right now. We want to migrate orders from all legacy flows to current flow that was described in the architecture above. We want to manage multi-term order. These are multi-year deals which big enterprises buy. And we seamlessly want to manage each term of the purchase, like first year purchase, second year purchase, third year purchase. So it is signed as a single contract, but when one term ends, the customer should not face a downtime when the second term starts for even a second, right? And multi-customer order is a customer not buying just one contract, but multiple contract. Then there is lifecycle management, which is, as explained, we want to schedule for the target when to grant and when to revoke. We want to also allow partial and full cancellation of the contract if the customer is not happy with his purchase. We also want customer to partially and fully allocate what he has purchased. This is when the example of training was given, that the customer would want to first partially allocate and see like how the bought product is getting like what is the feedback of the peers of the bought product, and then fully allocate it. Move allocation is for big enterprise like Alphabet to manage their allocations bought across like Google and other sub branches. And temporary order is to just unblock the customers. Monitoring and auditing is basically how do you do revenue reconciliation, which is when sold, how do you say like the customer actually got. This is basically triggering events to ensure that ensure to the financing system that we have promised, we have successfully uh, fulfilled our promise to the customer by giving the quantity that we have promised. Then email notifications to the support rep by informing them that now you need to start addressing customer who has not gotten any grants. Failure handling and recovery is the retries that our system does, inbuilt retries and the ticket creation and informing on call. And provisioning metric dashboard is informing the performance of our platform, of how we are performing on APR. Configurability is how do we configure our grace buffer period for revoke or deactivation. This is basically an extra time given for the customer to renew, and it can be customized. Flattening of bundles, customer by group of products. How do we ensure that this group of products get flattened and went to multiple provisioning targets? Custom target allocation app is basically how we onboard a line of business which want to use UPP, right? And product provisioning configuration, this is how a target app can inform UPP that how I want the allocation to be on start date, right? And target selection in EP is basically how EP selects which target to provision. The product features that we want to support is unlimited and limited assignments. This is basically how some products allow only few assignments, like they have limited quantity that a user can assign to peers, and some products can be freely used by the entire org itself. We want to also allow geofencing, which is like a usage in a particular geo, and a consumable license budget-based product. Basically all the three type of products which were explained in the previous slide to be supported via UPP. Can we go to the next slide? Yeah. Moving on to the LBP initiative, this is the future of LinkedIn, where we want to move everything that is sold via SFDC to basically Dynamics, right? And Dynamics internally uses Solution Builder to place all opportunities. And we want to move all line of businesses which are sold, which is LTS, LSS, LLS, Premium, and LMS, to the enterprise underlying enterprise platform as a target, right? Currently, you see there were multiple targets under UPP. We want to get rid of all the targets that are there and unify even the target app to be EP, where we manage the user, its licenses, its identity, and the access that it allows. And we want to also converge our field and online tech stack, which is currently spread across in legacy flows in our system, to because they are spread across our tech stack, the go-to market time is high. So we want to reduce that. And we want to also make the customer self-sufficient by, which is both online and field, by giving it the access to a UI where in case our system fails, they are rightly informed to themselves unblock them and get access to the product, right? Because in case, this is very crucial, because customer can themselves ask to not auto provision, and in that case we will give all the options possible for customer to be self-sufficient to auto provision, right? And we want to create a single monitored and reconciled provisioning pipeline that is used to provision all digital goods purchased, right? Can we go to the next slide? Yeah, so these are the crucial metrics that our team monitors and its success depends on. First is APR, which is auto provisioning rate. This rate captures the total number of orders that were auto provisioned with respect to the total number of orders placed by the customer. To elaborate, what it means is, if the customer has purchased, let's say 100 contracts, were we able to rightly configure these 100 contracts to be allocated on the start date, is what APR is. Whereas on provisioning rate is, were we able to provision it on the start date, not just configure. This is the next step to APR. A high APR doesn't mean a high OPR, but a high OPR definitely means and vice versa. Vice versa is not true. Whereas a high OPR definitely means a high APR, right? So these are the two crucial metrics that we monitor to determine the success of our platform and the strategies that we're using to ensure that we are auto provision, the success of the strategy to auto provision. Yeah, now I'll talk about the achievement and the future scope of our team. So our team was not having any monitoring build, so it was on a ticket basis that we were solving the problem. We will talk about the platform that has improved the monitoring of our platform UPP, which is PMP. We have improved the APR and OPR metric. So to just give you an example, currently our APR for for LinkedIn Learning is above 95. So we always auto provision LinkedIn Learning license. We never fail to a customer almost all the time, right? And we have reduced the go-to market time, and this is very crucial for success of LinkedIn. As a new product is introduced, usually an NPI or a new product introduction to go to market used to take 2 to 3 months. Now we are achieving this within weeks. And these are the call out achievements where we have already migrated LinkedIn Learning licenses to UPP, and we have onboarded job post to UPP. What is a job post? Is basically, it is pay for performance. How much ever you use, that's how much ever you use, that's how much you pay, right? And it's related to posting jobs on LinkedIn. It's one of the new products that LinkedIn has introduced. We have also onboarded LTI totally on Abacus. Earlier, it was getting sold both on SFDC and Abacus. Now it's all on Abacus. We created a platform that unify revenue recognition, which is ERP integration platform. And we are in progress to do the migration. We are already ramping the migration of LSS to UPP and LSS and LSI to UPP. And we are also enabled the self-serve purchase for LinkedIn Learning multi-seat. And we are now working on onboarding self-serve purchases for other line of businesses. And the future scope of our team is to do the LTS migration to UPP and also allow self-serve allocation of LLS and other lines of businesses which are migrated to UPP, and also new product introductions that are coming as requests from other teams. Now I will give the platform to Manika to speak about the monitoring platform. So go ahead, Manika.
So Himanshu has described in detail about the provisioning process that is in place to ensure customer is getting the product provision to them. So along with the provisioning process, we also needed to track and monitor the provisioning activities and to get visibility in the provisioning process. That is where the provisioning monitoring platform comes into picture, or also referred to as PMP. So the need for PMP was to help achieve timely and accurate provisioning. So the customer should be able to receive what they have purchased accurately in the right quantity and on the right time. then it has also helped us in the past and continues to help us in onboarding any new products or moving the products around from moving them around on newer platforms. So Himanshu has described what a contract is. Now, when a customer purchases a contract, it might consist of multiple products. So each of these products have their separate line. So we have monitoring on each of these products individually, which we are referring to as the life cycle monitoring of an order line or a contract line. Then a contract during its life cycle may encounter different changes or amendments. So we might have add-ons coming into the contract. We might have cancellations where the customer might decide to either cancel the entire quantity or partial quantity. Then we have renewals, or we have a change in the start date, end date, any such changes or amendments to the contract, we monitor those. Then as a side effect, it has also helped us in identifying any underlying issues in the provisioning systems itself. So when we encountered multiple provisioning failures of the same type, it has helped us in identifying that there is an issue in the system. Then in cases when we have new products onboarding, PMP has at times served as a backup for finance team to recognize revenue. Then we also have alert and support mechanism for our on-call engineers and other partner teams. Then with the help of the dashboard, we also monitor metrics, which also helps in improving or finding out any pitfalls in the provisioning system, or to identify the areas which need to be worked upon more, so that we can improve, we can have continuous improvements. Can we move to the next slide? Yeah, so before I go into the high level flow for PMP, there are few terms that I would like to talk about. So Himanshu has talked about the auto provisioning and manual provisioning processes. So auto provisioning is the process in which whatever the customer has purchased without any manual intervention required, the contract or the products reach the customer on their own. But in some cases, due to the customer's own interest, there are cases when there is a manual intervention required, where someone from the LinkedIn team needs to contact the customer to get these additional details. And only after the customer's input, we can move forward with the provisioning process. These representatives are called customer support operatives, or here we are referring to them as GCOs. So these are so whenever we identify in a contract that this is the contract, which needs a manual intervention, which needs a customer input, we send a notification for GCOs along with the contract details that we need to get this information from customer to be able to continue with the provisioning process. So this notification going to the GCOs is referred to as CRM case. Then we have different provisioning stakeholders, which might be, one of them might be GCOs, and then there might be finance team. Similarly, there are other stakeholders which want to monitor the provisioning. Then finance representatives are the one which are recognizing the finance for for LinkedIn. So high level flow of PMP. So the commerce, ordering, OMS, etc. These are all the multiple services which help in the provisioning of the product. Or these are the code logic or underlying logic which are performing the provisioning. So whenever a provisioning during the entire life cycle of the product actually. So when an order is placed, when it is granted to the customer, when it's revoked, its access is revoked, when there is a cancellation, where there is an addition of quantity, anything that happens, any such action, we emit a Kafka event, which is queued, and then prov monitoring, which is the service for our PMP, the code base. This service is the one which consumes these Kafka events coming from all these systems. Then in the PMP system, it persists this in prov monitoring database. And then on top of this service and the database, we have multiple other functions running. So one of them is that once a provisioning is completed, we send an email to the sales representative that, yeah, we have gone through the provisioning and the customer has the product now. Then if at the time on the day of the start, if we recognize that there is a failure that happened and the customer has not yet received the product, we have different escalation, different ways of escalation. Firstly, we notify the GCOs to see if they can provision it manually. So it might be the case where auto provisioning has failed, but there is something that GCOs can do and provision it manually to the customer. Then to look into why this failure has happened and to prevent any further failures from happening, we have provisioning on calls looking at the JIRA tickets, which are created by the PMP system. They analyze the ticket, and if there is any underlying issue that can help prevent any future issues from coming, they are the ones who would work on it. Then our problem monitoring data, it's ETL'd in Hadoop every day, and on this data we have reportals running, which are sent over to provisioning partners. So the report, some of the use cases which can't be just captured by provisioning failures, for them we have reportals running to send over to our provisioning partners. Then from the Hadoop platform, we also have these daily scripts running, which transform this Hadoop data into UMP data. And based on this UMP data, we have Retina dashboards created. So with the UMP data, it's much easier to query the PMP data on different metrics. I'll talk in detail about it later on. And these are used by various provisioning stakeholders and leadership to track the provisioning and its statistics. Then on this database, we also have these canned reports being generated, which are used in our UI, which is CSP. And using these reports, these reports are used by finance representatives. So yeah, let me talk about GCO alerting. So what GCO alerting is, we have developed a system to perform automatic escalations to the appropriate stakeholders whenever a provisioning failure is detected. So this has helped us in streamlining the manual provisioning process, where we have automatic escalations going to the GCOs or the provisioning on calls. This has helped us deliver products on more timely basis, as before the customer has to report an issue, we are able to identify it and take appropriate measures so that the customer has received the product. This has helped us in reducing our manual efforts. So previously we were relying on reports which were being monitored on a weekly or bi-weekly basis. So instead of now relying on the reports, we have direct tickets coming into us, and we have also the case creation mechanism through which there is nothing that is required manually. Only the GCOs can be involved without any engineer taking a look into it. And then, this has also helped us in identifying any core provisioning issues that might come up due to similar JIRA issues getting created. Yeah, so this is the new reconciliation flow after we onboarded GCO alerting. So we have the initial structure is same, where we have different services emitting the Kafka event and the prov monitoring consuming these events. And whenever a failure is detected by the service, we have a CRM case created. How it has helped is that CRM case gets assigned to a single GCO and can be picked up directly by him or her to block the customer immediately. Then we have a JIRA ticket created for provisioning on call to identify the underlying issue which led to the failure and to put in any fix so that it can be avoided in the future. And then if we have a delay of over 30 days in provisioning the product to the customer, we send an email to the finance team as post that the revenue might start getting impacted. Just to give a very brief implementation detail of the provisioning monitoring system, we have developed a sort of state machine. We have, the implementation details I won't go into, just I'll describe the state machine, how it looks like. So whenever an order is placed, we have a state machine that starts with the initial state as start. Then it moves on to the state which says that we have this state machine started. And then it waits till the start date of the contract is reached. this X is configurable and it changes. So since we have the product might be not even be provisioned even after the first escalation, we don't terminate this state machine until and unless the product is actually provisioned. So this X is configurable and the escalation that happens is dependent on this X. So we wait for these X number of days. And once this X has expired, we check if the line or the contract line or the order line is in the expected state or not. So if it is in the expected state, we say that its reconciliation is completed and we terminate the state machine. And if it is not completed, we mark the status as that we are escalating, performing an escalation. Then we perform a particular escalation, which is again configurable. It might be a GCO case escalation, a JIRA escalation, an email escalation, or it's basically configurable, and we can perform any kind of escalation. And once this escalation is done, we go back into the state where we wait for additional X days so that we can do this check again and repeat the process. Yeah, so let me talk a bit about provisioning monitoring dashboard as well. So to monitor the overall health and performance of the provisioning system, it was required to build a monitoring dashboard by creating appropriate metrics and charts. So we could also say that we could have made use of reportals to take a look at the same data. But since this helps in with the dashboard, we can visualize the data, we can create charts and graphs, and we can have faster retrieval of data. This is for which we went on to build the provisioning monitoring dashboard. And again, it's easy to navigate between different performance metrics to pinpoint the source of an issue. And since it's easier to navigate between the charts and metrics, and this was also developed to create a centralized platform for different teams, developers and business to view data in the same context. Yeah, this is the high level or design of the provisioning monitoring dashboard. So as the other two cases, the initial structure is same till the prov monitoring service. Then we have prov monitoring data ETL'd in Hadoop on a daily basis. And then we have a daily script running, which transfers or transforms this Hadoop data into a UMP data. UMP is again a database which is which helps in making these dashboard queries easier and faster. So it stores the data in a way which makes the retrieval faster based on certain dimensions. So on this UMP, we have this Retina dashboard constructed. And from the Retina dashboard, this is the UI from which we can create and view certain metrics. And then on all of our reportals are running on this Hadoop. Yeah, so these are the different metrics that are onboarded to the provisioning monitoring dashboard. Firstly, we have the auto provisioning rate. Himanshu has explained in detail about it. I'll just mention a line so basically, but in terms of formula, it means that of all the products that were provisioned today, how many of them were auto provisioned. Then we have on-time provisioning rate or OPR, which basically is that number of orders which were provisioned on time. So of all the orders that were provisioned, how many of them were provisioned on time? Currently, our definition of on time is 1 day. So whatever is provisioned within the day of the start date, we call it as an on-time provisioning. And anything that lies outside it, we track it as delayed provisioning. And then we have we try to analyze what caused the delay in provisioning it for over a day. Then we have case creation failure metric. What this means is, so as I mentioned before, we have a notification mechanism to the GCOs that a customer input is needed for completing the provisioning of this particular product. And in case we fail to notify the GCOs via the case for whatever reason, it is called case creation failure. So we have a metric to track any such failures that are happening. Then we have categorized failures into multiple chunks or multiple categories. And we also monitor the failure reason classification. This is helpful in the sense that we can focus more on the failures that are happening more frequently and which are also easier to resolve. And so we can target our resources and time based on this these metrics. So it's important in that way. Then we have order information metric. This is to get any general information about an order or a contract that is placed, which might be the number of orders placed on a particular date, or number of orders placed via dynamic CRM, or number of orders placed via SFDC CRM. We can even have more complicated or composite queries as well, like number of learning orders placed on a particular date via the SFDC. What are the dimensions for this provisioning monitoring dashboard? So what is a dimension? Firstly, it is a context under which the measurements were made. So dimensions are basically different attributes on which these metrics are measured, or based on which we are trying to quantify our statistics. By analyzing metrics, we mean that we analyze metrics by slicing or dicing on these dimensions. So the different dimensions that we have identified as part of the dashboard, firstly, it's the provisioning state. An order can be in any provisioning state at any point of time. So when an order is placed, it's in the provisioning state called placed. Then once it's configured, it moves on to the state of configured. Then on the start date, it's expected to move on to the state called granted. And so similarly, there are different states a order can be in. And these are the provisioning states of an order. Then product family. So as Himanshu explained about the lines of business, within each line of business, we can have different product families as well. So that is product family. Then we have a contract type, which can be a new business, add-on, renewal, cancellation. Then we have ordering system, which is Dynamics or Dynamics 365 or SFDC. Then is auto provisioned is whether the order was auto provisioned or it required a manual intervention. So it's a Boolean. Then we have a failure reason, which we talked about in the previous slide. Then we have a delay bucket. So to quantize delay in provisioning, we introduce this delay buckets. We have different buckets. One to say we start with the 15 minutes, then we have an hour delay, then we have over a day delay, and then we have a delay over 15 days. So these are the different delay buckets we quantize the data in. So to give an example of how we query, we could have a query which says that give me all the orders with product family X, which are currently in the state A and which are of the type new business. So these are all can be combined together to make any kind of query. Yeah, thank you. That is all I had to speak about PMP.
Cool. Yeah. Thanks, Manika, for that. Thanks, Manika and Himanshu, for the detailed walkthrough. But then again, and thanks the entire audience for staying for the tech talk and listening to our team's work. This is again just a highlight of what we have been doing. I'm sure there could be more questions. If so, please post them here in the chat, or our booth is also available in the event today and tomorrow as well. Any questions or any part that interested you, feel free to deep dive with us on the booth or over here. Thanks again for joining. Let us move to Q&A. So next, there is a barcode here. If after all you have attended all the events, previous slide, please. If you have after you have attended all the events, please provide us feedback. That will be very valuable for us. We can move to the next slide. With that, I'll hand over to Khushbu, who will moderate our Q&A session.
Okay, so we have one question from Mrudula. Himanshu, you can take that question. Apart from LBP and LinkedIn Learning, are there any other products or services that LinkedIn offers?
Yes. So we have Sales Navigator, which is basically allowing the business to find the audience they want to sell to. So let's say you are producing a wheel, right? So how would you search for all the companies that are interested in the wheel that you have created, right? So since LinkedIn is a platform where all, not just the job seekers, but the businesses also to post jobs come to. So LinkedIn has the data with it, and LinkedIn allows, once bought this license, to for you to have access to such data, that you will get all the companies that are in need of wheel, right, that you have created. So that can help you enhance your business. This is one of the products, Sales Navigator. And I think so. Then there is LinkedIn Talent Solutions, which you will mostly see like companies reaching out to you for jobs, and Microsoft, Amazon, Flipkart, and other big enterprises which reach out for jobs, Uber. All these are using LinkedIn's talent services licenses, which is allowing them to hunt for the resources that are crucial for the project they are building. So let's say they are in crunch of DevOps, right? And they really need DevOps. So they can use the LinkedIn talent services and find the right DevOps for, let's say, Kubernetes or Hadoop for data, right? So these are the two like licenses I can like apart from learning and all sold on LBP. Yeah.
So next, until we get more questions, I have a question for Monica. So what are you most proud of in building the monitoring platform?
Yeah, so there are many things. The thing that comes to the top of my mind is, so as we are onboarding any new products from our previous flows to the new flows, or also when we are onboarding any new products on our platform, the PMP has served as a important system in monitoring the early ramp of these products. So let's say when we are in 10% ramp and there is only limited flow that is coming to the new flow, at that time, we have extensively used PMP to identify any issues that are coming in. And there have been scenarios in the past where we made early detections with the help of PMP. And then we were able to resolve the issues before either customer reporting it or before we getting a lot of traffic and making it more difficult to resolve it at later stages.
And we can take one more question. Himanshu, what is the most challenging part in building LBP?
Yeah, the most challenging part would be like the basic metric that we have to improve upon, which is APR and OPR. So we use different strategies to do it. Like one of the strategies that we have come up with would be like if customer has multiple accounts that he's managing. Let's say customer is Google and Alphabet, and it's trying to manage Google search engine as an account, and let's say Google self-driven car as an account. So how do we identify if Google keeps buying contracts from us to which account to provision, right? So we apply various strategies and thus improve the APR instead of reaching out via sales rep to Google again and again and asking them to tell us like where do you want to provision. We are like having algorithms in place which identify what actions to be taken on the contract purchase. The next challenge I can think of is migration as a problem is one of the most interesting problems to solve. And how do we migrate a line of business from legacy flows to UPP without having a downtime to an existing customer, right? And we are able to manage a customer on both flows also. At sometimes there are multiple migration strategies that we apply. So in some strategies we are able to maintain the customer on the legacy flow and on the new flow and then migrate it later. So step by step migration or full migration, both are most challenging problems that we face. Revenue recognition is another problem that UPP tried solving and has achieved to do it. So the revenue recognition of all lines of businesses were maintained by their individual teams, and there was no unified way of doing it. We created the platform ERP integration which solved this problem, and now all the teams that are now producing finance related data are onboarding to this platform and solving the same problem for themselves also, right? And the last that I can think of is how can we unblock a blocked customer, right? So anytime a customer buys, and let's say we found a bug in our system, and the SLA to fix this bug would be a week, right? Because it's a major change. We are able to unblock the customer by allowing temporary orders through our system without affecting the revenue, right? So these are the like high level challenges that we have faced in the course of building this platform. And I'm sure there are more to come as we migrate other lines of businesses.
Thanks everyone for joining. Hope you have a wonderful rest of the session. Bye.